abstraction. If you see children very carefully from the very early years, you will find that their play becomes more and more complex and advanced as they develop, right? One of the central things which is there in all play, though, is this idea of imaginary situation. There is always an imaginary situation in play. When children are doing a doll play, right, they are imagining their doll to be, real baby or something. So it's an imagination which is there. Or if you think of an advanced games like, say, for example, either a soccer or a cricket match, you find that there is an imagination in terms of you give new meanings to objects, right? So there are 3 wickets at the back, and when you hit it, you are out. There's no meaning, but it has an imaginary meaning, right? There is a ball, and everybody is running after that ball in a soccer game. And when you put it across a net, that becomes goal. There is an imaginary situation which is assumed here. All play from that perspective involves imaginary situation, which is to say that it creates new meaning for the person who is engaged in play. The other important thing here is that when we are thinking about conceptual play world, we are trying to think of children's play, but we don't want to disrupt children's play, because there are a lot of pedagogical traditions across the globe. When they are talking about children's play, one of the problem there is that they play with children and then they stop and they give them some concepts and then they again start playing, right? So conceptual play world suggests that you don't have to stop play to give concepts. Concepts need to come in the service of play. What I mean to say by that is that when you are using a concept in children's play, it should increase the play possibility rather than decreasing the play possibility. It's a very difficult job, I know, but this is what demands a lot of work by an early years pedagogue or early years educator over time. And that's what we're trying to do when we are working in conceptual play world, where the effort is in trying to expand the possibility of play rather than restrict the possibility of play. Okay. Now, there are 2 more things I wanted to talk about before I go into the model itself, which is to say that play is not simply a reproduction of life. So when we are thinking of play, often what happens is that when the teacher becomes very responsive, they go on to draw on from children's everyday experiences. They think that that will lead to good engagement. I don't think that's right. What children are looking for in a play situation is basically they want to expand their imagination. They want to play so that they are able to enjoy and imagine more. And I think that is something which is very central. If you have observed any child playing in the past, you will see that their imaginary trajectories and their play constantly keeps changing, right? It just keeps changing. They just expand it as they are playing. And that's what we are trying to do when we are engaging in a conceptual play world. We're trying to offer an opportunity of expansion of play as we are working with children. So it's not merely reproduction of their life, but it's more experiences brought in conversation when they are playing. And lastly, I think, and the most importantly, is that when you are thinking of a concept or thinking of a play used as a pedagogical tool, think of it that how can it really increase the dramatic moments for children? What does this mean? This means that you are trying to increase the drama of the moment. Why drama is important? Because surely it is a glue. It basically attracts children's attention. When you go and say to them, eat your food, this is the time for lunch. That's one way of saying cut and dry, right? This is what is expected of you. But if you make it dramatic and you say that, look, if you eat your food today, this is going to happen and we are going to do this, and this, the child gets very excited, right? So it's the drama which basically attracts child's attention and makes it personally more meaningful for them and consciously engaged in the particular phenomenon. And I think that's something which is quite important. So when you are thinking as a pedagogue, as a teacher, about relating play in children's everyday thinking, it's important that you start thinking it from the lens of this dramatic moment being very important and central to their learning. Okay. So that, to my mind, are quite central when you are thinking of imagination and play. Uh, so I'll probably stop here for a second. And in case anybody has got any questions, I'm very happy to see. I can also see that there are a number of fantastic replies which have come from all of you about imagination. And I agree with all of them, that most of you have talked about creativity as being a very important part of imagination, role playing as a very important part of imagination. So fantastic. Dinda, you talk about this ability to picture things in mind, which is creating new images, which is interesting. Yeah, creating something new, as Kasma is talking about, or Nuratika. Sorry, my spelling, my pronunciation of your names may be not best. Excuse me for that. But all of you have done written fantastic stuff. I really appreciate what you have said here. Visualizing new possibilities. Yeah, this is absolutely nice. Yeah.
I think there's a question in the
Yes.
if that's okay to ask a question from Kasma. I think she's asking why is it important for teachers to provide freedom of imagination during play-based learning activities, and how can this impact children's cognitive development?
Yeah, yeah. It's a fantastic question, Kazma. I think if you see how I have tried to structure my conversation, I said that in the beginning, there are two possibilities you have here, right? One possibility is that you have you can support children's reproductive function, which is their memory, right? You teach them something, A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever, or one, two, three, or whatever you teach them. Or you teach them some other, mathematical operations or scientific, concepts. And if you ask them to repeat it, they probably would be able to tell you a bit of it every time, you ask them. So one possible model of teaching them could be trying to rely a lot on their memory function, their what they can remember, right? The other way of thinking is to free them and give them this opportunity to think beyond what is given to them, okay? Which is making an effort in trying to bring in their own, realities in conversation in the session. So this freedom is important because this freedom offers an opportunity for them to bring their own experiences in conversation in the classroom. All of us often talk about child-centered pedagogy. We do talk about children being very active agent in their learning. All that is possible if you are offering this possibility of them to imagine and offer the freedom contribute then to the classroom interactions, which are quite central. Does this make sense to you, Kasma? I'm very happy to respond further in case you have further doubts about it.
If that's
And
okay, can we ask one more question?
yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so there's this one if from Nuratika. So if emotions strongly influence the quality of children's imagination, how can teacher ensure that children's emotional conditions support learning, especially in STEM activities that are often considered serious?
Yeah, you're so right about it. I absolutely agree with you. And that's why I deliberately mentioned imagination and emotion in the very beginning itself, because the point is not to go back and start talking about child's emotional situation at the moment. I think once I will be there, I will talk about it. It is trying to create a collective imaginary situation where everybody is emotionally glued and attached to the story you are trying to tell them. Everybody is attached to the problem you are trying to solve. So the simple answer to your question, to my understanding at this stage, would be that you want them to be emotionally engaged so that they are engaged in the STEM problem you're trying to solve, and they are emotionally engaged to the character of the story so that they are feeling and role playing the situation, right? And all that really is very helpful when you are trying to do that work in STEM education, because then it doesn't become very cut and dry and doesn't become very boring or straightforward fact teaching, but rather becomes personally meaningful for them. So I am talking of not their emotional state in the sense that their emotional state, like how they are feeling, but rather trying to draw them in and engage them emotionally in pedagogy of your classroom of STEM teaching. I think that's where I'm trying to go with that emotion idea. Yeah.
Okay,
I see.
thank you for the answer. Yeah, there's
Herlina wants to
Ibu
say something.
Herlina. Yes, she's raising her hand. Ibu
Yeah, thank
Herlina.
you. Thank you, moderator. Good. Congratulations, Dr. Partab Rai. My name
Yeah.
is Herlina.
Yeah.
I'm chair from Universitas Negeri Makassar, Department Childhood Education. I have you question. How does it affect then learning process it children use their imagination? Thank you.
Good. If I understood correctly, Helena, are you asking how does affect or emotion influence children's learning? Is this your question? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. I know it's a complex and a long question, you know. So I may not answer all aspects of it. What I am going to talk today only, because we have got this short time, I would rather reply from a conceptual PlayWorld perspective, how you engage with children's affect and how then we can relate it with children's learning. So if you stay with me, I'll probably try to answer that question as I am presenting my work. Shorter answer is that do not see affect and cognition as two separate entities. Try to see them together. Try to see them as both of them are contributing to each other and creating person's psychological development over time. But I will come to it as I'm talking about it in my presentation. So bear with me maybe for a few more minutes. When I reach that point, I will surely mention it to you. Is that fine for now?
Ibu Herlina.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, all good. And I think there's another question by Dinda. Let's quickly run through this
Dr.
one.
Pratap Tre, nama saya Herlina.
Yeah, there's another question in the chat from Dinda.
By Dinda.
She says, in early childhood STEM education, how does imagination contribute to the development of higher order thinking skill? And what indicators can teachers observe to know that these cognitive processes are actually taking place during the play? So how to assess them? More or less,
So I think it's a good question, and I do think about it a lot. One of the answers I have for you, short answer I have for you, is that when you are thinking of the development of these complex learning capacities in children, you need to start thinking about it from one possible lens could be thinking about it from the perspective of what we call executive functions. So how do children develop executive functions, which is to say three things. One, are they becoming self-regulative over time? So when they are thinking about the problem, are they becoming self-regulative? When they are trying to solve a problem, are they becoming self-regulative? And are they able to understand they have tried to solve a problem? The other thing which you would see there is they have developed a level of inhibitory control, which is to say that they're not distracted here and there. They are focused on what you are trying to work with them about. So they are really interested in trying to do what you are trying to do with them. So I'm not directly answering your question around HOTS, which is higher order thinking skills, but I'm trying to say to you is that one aspect of thinking about HOTS could be thinking about executive function, right? Why I'm doing it? Because a lot of what you see in early years education, that's my worry with early years education, is being drawn from the school education pedagogy, right? So the kind of segregation of HOTS and LOTS and whatnot are primarily coming from a model of Bloom's taxonomy, which is coming from school education perspective primarily. So if we are trying to think of it in early years context, we need to have our own, conceptual tools. And one possible model of trying to think about it, to my understanding, would be thinking from the lens of executive functions, which is, are children able to develop this kind of self-regulation over time in trying to work on the problem? Are they able to become more structured in terms of thinking about how they can learn something new? Are they able to inhibit themselves from just going and playing around rather than being focused on a task? So all those things are good examples for you in terms of understanding they are developing higher order thinking skills over time. Okay. Yeah. And Helena, I can see you now in the video. So I was just saying that I will respond to your question as I go on in my presentation. I hope that's fine with you. Okay. All right. If you allow me, then I keep going and talk a bit about then the pedagogical characteristics of conceptual PlayWorld. Okay. Now,
Please go ahead.
it's trying to say that there are 5 important pedagogical characteristics of a conceptual PlayWorld. Okay, so one of the things you need to understand that teachers often think that, oh, I have to do play-based teaching. I will go and play with them, and that will solve the problem. I think one of the important distinctions which Flicker basically argues in her work is that we need to become very intentional about teaching using play-based pedagogy, which is to say that we need to have a planning in advance before we go on to teach using this methodology or using this pedagogy. Okay. So one of the important things what PlayWorld does is it tries to bring together 2 things together in one place. Children often love to hear stories, right? They love to hear lots and lots of stories. And they also love to do a lot of role playing or playing with others around them. Now, conceptual PlayWorld tries to weave these 2 things together. It tries to weave children's story, love for story, and love for play in one composite model. Okay. All this is to say that this approach is trying to have a planned intervention using a child's story and child's play. Yeah. Now, the first important planning characteristic of a conceptual PlayWorld is selecting a story. Selecting a story is very important. I remember nearly 7 years ago when we started working with a number of families around Victoria or with teachers, they would often bring to you books where there are a lot of concepts, right? They will bring books to you where it talks about science or maths. We are not looking for those books. We are looking for story books. We are looking for books which have drama. Do you remember I said to you, dramatic moments are important, right? And Harlina, to your point, that's where emotions come. When children are listening to a story, they are emotionally involved with the story. They are emotionally involved with the character of the story. Okay. So all this is to say that if you choose a good story, a story which has got a good plot means it is complex. It's not a simple story. It's not just a beginning and just an end. It has a good beginning. It has number of characters. It has got a fantastic drama in it, and it has a good end. So that's the kind of story we are looking for. There need to be a drama in that story which emotionally engages children, which cognitively demands them to be understand all the time. And why this is important, because when they are enabled and when they are emotionally involved, they will develop an empathy for the character, right? They will worry, oh, why is this happening to this character? Why is this character being killed? Why is this character being in this trouble? How can I help to solve the problem for this character? That's what we really want here. So we want a story which is emotionally engaging. We want a story which has a good drama. We want a story which has an interesting problem situation. That's the kind of story we choose, right? And I'm sure in Indonesian context, there may be many, many stories of that kind, because I have got a few students from Indonesia, PhD students, who are working now in Indonesia on conceptual play worlds. So, it is fascinating how families and teachers are using this model in Indonesia as well. So the point is, choose a story which has a complex plot, choose a story which has a drama, choose a story which is engaging for children. Okay. Now, the second point here is design play spaces in conceptual play world. This is to say that if you are really thinking about using this model to support children's learning, you need to design spaces. Why it is important? Because you may have seen yourself, when you go in a movie theater, there's an image in front of you. It takes you to a different world altogether. Why? Because there's a design which is presented to you in terms of images. In the same way, when you are thinking of conceptual play worlds, think of designing a conceptual play world space. And it need not be very complex. It could be very simple design. Like, you may say that this is a space outside my in my backyard, where I would basically, create a conceptual play world where I would like to see, we will play or role play a story of, say, Nana, or we play a story of Rosie's Walk, or any other story which you may have from your context. So this is to say that it offers a possibility for children to understand that they are in a new imaginary world, and this is how they need to act rather than their usual activity. Okay, so create that environment for children, and it's important for them to use that in their in their imagination. It helps them in their imagination when they know that they are in a space which is designed for them to be role playing, which is designed for them to be imagining that they are somebody else. And once I give you examples, probably you'll be able to see it better. So the images you see in this particular on these slides are the family conceptual play world images, which is where you have these two girls. One is 3-year-old and the other is 5-year-old, and they are playing this play world called Time for Bed. And they in Time for Bed story, all the animals of the animal kingdom are going to bed. It's nighttime, right? So that's the plot of the story. And they have used different parts of their house basically to design these activities. Other important thing in the conceptual play world is deciding the entry and the exit of the play world. Why it is important? Because in a conceptual play world, the teacher is not a director. They're not outside the play world. They are inside the play world with the children. Okay, so you are playing with them. You are one of them. You are also one of the characters in the story, right? If that's the case, then you have to give signal to children that, look, now we are entering into a play world. Now is the time when we are exiting from the play world. Okay, so now here we are in the imaginary world, and here we are out of the imaginary world. So they need to get that signal. That signal could be very easy, simple thing. You can have like a signal which could be a door, an imaginary door, and when you enter that imaginary door, you say you are into a play world, and when you exit from that door, you are outside the play world. Okay, it could also be, if you don't have a door, it can also be, you having some of these magic spells. You can say abracadabra and you enter into a magic world, and you are in an imaginary situation. And when you say something else, ziggity zaggity zoom, and you are out of it, right? So it's basically trying to say that you are in a character, you are playing with children, you are choosing characters, you are trying to be one of them. This is a whole group experience. It is not trying to think of individual child's imagination. It's trying to create a collective imaginary situation, which is to say that all the children and the teacher are collectively together in an imaginary situation when they are in a conceptual play world. The fourth characteristic is planning the play inquiry or problem scenario. Now, the point is that often what happens is that you design everything, but you don't understand. Children need to get some knowledge in terms of solving a problem, right? You give them a problem, but if you don't have knowledge, they can't solve it, right? So you need to give them some knowledge also to solve the problem. How would you do that? You can do that as a character in the story, right? So you can, once I will come there, I'll probably say more, but you can be a character in the story. You can become an architect who has come to give a knowledge. You can become maybe a designer who's a lot of experience, and you wear a new hat and a new cap and whatnot, and then you basically as a designer and give them some information in an easy, simple language to solve the problem. Or you can work alongside them as a mechanic or an engineer and say to them that this is how engineers solve problem. What I'm trying to say is that when you are working with children, think of what kind of questions you will ask them and what knowledge they will use to solve the problem. Think about it as a teacher in advance, because that will help you in setting up a problem situation and also solve the problem. Setting a problem is a difficult job, right? So how do you set up a problem? You need to set up a problem in a child-friendly language so that they are able to engage with the problem and they are able to solve the problem. And I'll give you an example in a short while. All this is to say that think carefully, intentionally about what you are teaching and how you are teaching them. And last characteristic, and very, very important one for teachers especially, is thinking about your interactions, right? We often think, okay, whatever children will say, we will say something to them, right? In a conceptual play world, we try to have a planned interaction, which is not to say that you have a script. You decide that this is what will happen. No, you're not doing that. But you are planning that this is how I'm going to teach them this idea over time, right? It's not a one-day affair. You can do it over a period of time. We use this concept of what we call pedagogical positioning, which is to say sometimes teacher can be above children, which is to say that they can be giving knowledge to them. They can be giving information to them, right? Sometimes they can be below them, right? They can be very cheeky, asking maybe funny questions, asking stupid questions, and children may laugh it out, but it is trying to also position yourself as a non-expert, right? And sometimes you can be working with them. You are with them in the group and you are trying to, glue something, you are trying to make a new design with them, which is to say that you are working alongside them in trying to solve the problem. As a teacher, do not think of yourself in that hierarchy where you are on the top and children are at the bottom, but rather trying to think of taking these positions from time to time so that you are able to help and support them in trying to learn this in a play-based manner. All this is to say that to basically create possibilities of play, you need to become playful as well, okay? So that's what this model basically demands in terms of its approach. So I have said 5 things to you. 1, selecting a story is important. Choose a story which is dramatic. Choose a story which is emotionally engaging. 2, I said, design the environment so that you can create possibilities of learning and children understand that they are here to role play, imagine new things. 3, think of an exiting and entry so that you are able to give them a signal that we are now in a play world and now here we are out of it. And that can be done very easily. 4, a difficult job, but need to be done carefully, is set up a problem situation in a child-friendly manner so that it becomes personally meaningful for them and they are engaged in the problem solving. And lastly, and surely, yes, give them some knowledge to solve the problem. And lastly, think of how you are going to support them as a teacher over time so that they are able to solve the problem feel confident that they have learned something new, and they are able to move on. So those are 5 basic characteristics of a conceptual play world. Okay? Is that all fine? Now, I'm going to quickly run through you how do you develop one if you want to, right? On my system, it shows that I have reached around 42 minutes. So I'll try to quickly do this bit. Is that fine, Delvina?
Yes, fine. So we can have a few minutes for questions later at the
Yes,
end.
I will do that. Yes. So developing conceptual play world, basically the model we follow is called educational experiment. I'm not going to talk about this in more detail because it will take a lot of time. Okay. All this is to say that you are trying to create new conditions of learning, but in collaboration with children, in collaboration with teachers. Okay. This is also to say that we are trying to work with the potentiality of children. We are aware that we are trying to create a new person. All the time, remember that. And in the process of creation of a new person, you need to invite them for collaboration. You need to give them opportunities to talk. You need to give them that freedom of space to talk. Now, quickly into one of the examples. Some of the work we do here at Monash involves working with playgroups, working with teachers across Victoria. Now, we have done some time ago this interesting intervention called Rosie's Walk. Rosie's Walk is a story of a hen whose name is Rosie. And there is this fox, which you can see on the image here, who is chasing Rosie the hen on her farm. Okay. Now, as a teacher, you read that story number of times to children before you start it, because you want them to understand the characters best in the best possible manner. This story is very interesting and engaging because it talks about what happens when Rosie the hen is walking on her farm, and from time to time, this fox is trying to catch Rosie. And as he's trying to catch Rosie, when he jumps, he sometimes lands into the pond in the cold water. Sometimes a rake hits its face. Another time it jumped onto the Rosie. There was a sack of flour, and that fell onto the fox. And lastly, when he tried to chase Rosie, he got bitten by bees, because he jumped into beehive. And Rosie kept walking on her farmyard, unaware that she's being chased by this fox. So that's largely the plot of the story. Okay, does this make sense to you? Okay. So we chose a story which was emotionally engaging. We chose a story which was interesting for children to engage with. Okay. Now, once you have built that situation, then it's important for you to move. And so this is for families, but you can also do the same for children. You can write a letter to them and to their parents and tell them that this is what you are doing in your kinder, which is around the story of Rosie's Walk. And that story they are going to run for a number of weeks. And this is a story, and we are going to talk about these things. And if you can support them in increasing their imagination, that will be helpful. Now, what we did was we did bi-weekly sessions, like two sessions every week. But if you are an educator and if you want to do all 5 days, you can do that. If you want to do only 1 day a week, you can do that. You can decide how you would like to run it. Okay. So the storytelling sessions where you are telling the story and playing the conceptual play work together with the children is basically an opportunity of co-experiencing the drama. The example I have got here is done through digital medium. Okay, so which is to say that we did all this work online. We were not in the situation, but a lot of work which we do here are on site as well. So this was trying to test, is this going to work in an online environment equally good or not? And it did, in fact, work fantastically well. The point I'm trying to make here is when you are reading a story, read with emotions, read with drama, read with which engages children in your storytelling. Once they have reached the stage where they are really interested in the story, then what you need to do is you need to move to the next stage where you want to design imaginary play with them, right? And you want them to engage in this entire thing. I'm not again showing you the storytelling just because of the paucity of time. I understand. So I come here. The difficult job is what I would like to discuss with you. The difficult job for an educator is how do you set up a problem situation? Now, in this situation, we found that Rosie the hen is being chased by fox on her farmyard, and that became a problem situation for us. We were trying to teach children the concept of simple machine or liver, right? You know, liver has a fulcrum, it has a load, and it has an object with it on the other side, isn't it? Like a scissors is a liver, right? All these simple machines which we have in our everyday life, pulley is a liver, right? So we were trying to teach these 3 to 6 year old, and because it was happening in family settings, this age was quite wide. But in your classrooms, when you have 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, you may be able to target better. Now, we wanted to teach this concept, and we wanted to introduce this idea. How do you do it? So now we extend the story. As I said, if you remember, you need to increase the play possibilities for children. So they were anyway enjoying the story of Rosie the hen. Now we introduce a new problem on it. And this is a letter which is being written by Rosie on behalf of Rosie the hen to children. Okay. This letter says that I have noticed a fox follows me every morning. We need to help him get back to forest because the farm is not his natural habitat. I need your help to get him back to his family in the burrow in the forest. The forest is a long way from the farm. It's on the side of the lake. I need your help to build a get home machine with a lever to get him home quickly. So we showed to children that we have got this truck, and we wanted to lift this fox into this truck so that it can be safely sent to the forest where its home is, right? Now, hens are small creatures, and foxes are big, right? Now, if you want to lift something big, you need to use some lever, right? You need to have a simple machine which can help you in lifting the fox, which is a heavy fox, right? So how can these small hens help to lift the fox into the truck? And that's where all these conversations started. And children basically started making their own get-home machines where they were thinking of this concept of fulcrum, liver, load, and all that became very live. So interestingly, what I'm trying to say is the problem became an authentic problem for children to solve. It became a problem which they really want to help Rosie the hen with, right? So planning becomes very, very important, and hence we try to solve this. Now, the other important thing here is giving a lot of material to families and also showing it to children. So in the process of doing this work, we did not just do this storytelling. We also did number of, like, in earlier context, we do rhymes. Okay. So we did like very famous rhyme, Old MacDonald's had a farm, E-I-E-I-O. We did some of those rhymes. We also did some origami with hen, so that the hen became an important character. So it's an art inclusion as well in the conversation. We also showed them some videos of how hen basically stay on the farm, what they do, what they eat, number of those kind of things. Okay. So in the process, you are trying to expand the horizon of conversation from just talking about the story. Now, this is about primarily coming from the family perspective, but over time, children themselves are able to tell you the story again. And why it's important? Because when they are telling the story, they are telling with all the drama they have understood, and they participate in it as well. Okay. Again, I'm just jumping it out because I want to show you this, that children in their home settings and in other settings where they were going, they were trying to see fulcrum and load and these kind of things as well. So for example, this one.
The beam. And the fulcrum? And where's the load? Where do you set as a load? Good job.
So this is a 3-year-old, and this understanding is flowing in their environment. So it's not just staying in the early learning center. These are videos being sent to us by their families that look, the child is basically doing all these interesting bits in their home setting. The other child, here who is playing with their toy, and they are trying to talk about how things move in their home setting.
Fox go in the car. Can you show us where the lever is? The lever part? The blue area. Yes. And where do you make the effort? Touch and show the effort place first. The yellow part. Are you ready to make the effort? Whoops.
See. So there are all
Ready,
these
steady.
interesting discussions happening in the home setting. So what I'm trying to say is the learning is not just happening in the early learning center. It's just you are seeing it happening all. One of the questions, I don't know who asked it. I think it was somebody else who was asking that, how would you know that they are developing HOTS or the higher order thinking capacities? The point is, do not try to see them only in the center. With children, you would see it's happening across. They are not learning to write on a paper, but they are learning to use it in their environment. So one of the things as a Vygotskian thinker, I basically emphasize on is learning is not what you just do on the piece of paper. It becomes your own, and it becomes higher order thinking when you are using it in your environment, right? So when it becomes practical, that's when it becomes really, from just remembering or knowing to acting on it in your world.
Nico,
And that's what we are trying to, the number of these get home machine, which we saw, which came from children's home setting. So this is another model which a family, showed you. So
Example of a get home machine. That is
So they used a toilet roll paper, and they put interesting lever in their home setting, which basically showed that how they designed their get home machine. All this is to suggest that if you are working carefully with families and with teachers, you are able to create an environment which children can own and contribute to. This is another long anecdote from one of the mothers who just said that how this model, when the child was learning in the center, was taking number of things in the home setting, and it was not just the child was learning. Elder children in the home was also knowing more about the here is another mother who was basically designed entire thing in her home setting and played with her child time and again to increase the possibility of learning. I'm trying to suggest that as you are developing this model, you are able to create a possibility for the families, and your role becomes less and less as a teacher, and they will become more and more empowered to basically contribute to their learning. So in all this, what I'm trying to say is there is a model where we can see that once you build this kind of common knowledge, you build this relationship with families, you understand their situation, and you try to help and support them, then they become more engaged and they develop a kind of a pedagogy that can then over time help in their learning. We have done a number of other home live sessions with the story of Gingerbread Man. In case you know the story of Gingerbread Man, we had a twist to that story and we called it Gingerbread Jan story. And that's a story where we're talking about chemical reactions with children in the home setting. That was a fantastic work as well. Now, do we have 2 minutes, Delvina, or we are out of
Yes, I
time?
think
Okay.
yeah, is that okay for them to ask a few questions? Because I
Yeah.
think the time is running out.
Yes. So here is a small video. I can send it to you, or I can probably play if you want. I think it runs for around 2.5 minutes, but it's basically more of how it works in the family setting. But you may want to ask questions, and it's all fine. I can just send this video to you later. It's absolutely okay. All this, what I was trying to say is that you need to be intentional. You need to be planned when you want to do this intervention. Think of children's play, imagination, and emotion as an important link together rather than thinking of them as separate entities. And think of concept learning as something that increases the possibility of play rather than something which basically stop play and then thinking of their conceptual learning. So that's primarily what I wanted to say. These are some of the references I used, and I'm very happy to take any questions or any feedback from you. And thank you very much for participating in today's session. I know it's early morning for you, and I really appreciate your time for that. So I'd
Well,
stop
thank you so
here.
much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Ray. That is a very rich content. It's a new concept for us actually. I mean, we've include imagination in our teachings, but also including emotion is such a new concept for us. Especially here in Indonesia, we have lots of, like you said before, we have lots of traditional story or traditional games. So I think
Yeah.
it would be good to include that later in our teaching. And I have a question. So you said before that there's an environment for this concept. So conceptual PlayWorld. Is that okay if we use like digital space as well? Because I've seen from your examples, children are doing it outside or at home. And is that okay for digital or do we use technology at all for this?
So I can't compress all our work in last 7 years in a small presentation, but so there are two set of things which we have done. One is surely we have used Zoom technology to interact online. That's one thing. But more importantly, we have also doubled into and used some of the ideas of augmented reality. So we have got this AR-enabled storytelling. What happens there is, in this story of, say, Rosie's Walk, when the child is seeing, just the book, when you use AR technology, they are able to amplify, and see that how the entire thing is playing. So you can use technology, very much in trying to expand these experiences for children. So that's surely yes, means it's a big yes that you can surely use AR for or other technology tools for this work. Yeah. If you really have maybe a 30, not 30, in fact, even less than that. If I can show you a small here.
This video shows an augmentation.
Can you see that?
Book.
Yes, we can see
We're
that.
aiming to introduce children to visual spatial language and reasoning within a playful context. As we reach the page where Rosie walks across the yard, we can bring in our mobile device to augment the scene. Here, the child can interact with him, resetting Rosie's position and then making Rosie walk across the yard to really associate the language and concept together. We hope this nano playworld can capture children's attention and interest with its fun and playful aesthetic that the children can relate to, hopefully without needing to cut out pages of books in the process.
Yeah, so it's basically showing you how AR has been used here as well. Why? Because if you know, spatial thinking is quite important for children in early years, right? So this particular example where it says across the yard, children learn across as an important spatial category. Under, over, you can show using the augmented reality tools. And that's what we were trying to do here in this situation using AR tools. So use technology. And do tell me if you get any success with it as well.
So can it be done like fully digitally, or do we
Yes.
still need like real world experience?
You can do fully digitally as well. Just with children, I would say that it's always important to maintain the continuity. And for you to maintain the continuity, it's important that you have something in the real setting as well. So you as an educator or as a facilitator could be online with number of families or number of teachers, and that can be done online as well. So some of the experiments we did in the COVID times are all digital, So we work with number of family daycares here in Australia or early learning centers. We use another idea which is called digital diorama. One of our PhD students, Monique Parkes, she has developed a digital diorama, which is using an iPad and a kind of a digital device, where she used to go into a digital imaginary world. And all the children used to join her in that digital world as well. She used to create that digital environment for them to interact. Yeah. So digital, yes, My only point is you need to work carefully in terms of designing a digital environment for interaction.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for your answer. We have some other questions from our students.
Yeah.
We have Nur Atika.
Yeah.
Okay, Nur Atika, can you unmute your microphone? Yes.
Yes, Miss.
Hello.
Yes, Miss. Yes, Mister.
I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I wanna ask, how can teachers ensure that interaction remain meaningful and responsive to children's ideas during conceptual PlayWorld?
It's an interesting question. How can you ensure? I have two set of answers, One answer is basically to say that all of us know that when the conversation is meaningful for other, we use in our research, we use a concept of intersubjectivity. You are doing something which is meaningful for children. So you need to understand children's social situation. You can't, means I cannot go on and talk with Indonesian children in an Indonesian preschool in a very similar manner as I am doing with children here in Australia, right? I need to understand children's cultural context better. I need to understand how they respond to reality better as well. Other thing which I often think and I often say to teachers, and I remember myself too, is that children's interactions are very different from the way in which adults interact. So, for example, if I'm an adult, if I see that number of you are just moving around here and there and not interested, it means that you are not interested. But with children, that's not the case most of the time. They are running around and they are interested and they are engaged, but they are still running around. They are following you, but they are still running around. And that doesn't mean that they're not interested. So you need to start thinking as a teacher how each one of the children in your classroom interacts and understands and engage. The way to do it is understand them better, understand their social situation better. And three, do not try to use adults' way of thinking of engagement on children. So if they are looking at you only, they are engaged? Probably not. They are sometimes just looking here and there as well, and they're still engaged. So think of different ways in which children engage as well, and try to bring in what they are doing in conversation in your class, and that would make it personally meaningful for them. I think that would be my quick answer to you, but the best way is to do it. So once you start doing some of the conceptual play words, that's when you would come to understand when they are engaged and when they are not engaged and how they are doing it. Okay?
Thanks, Mister.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. I hope it made sense.
Okay, thank you, Nur Atika. Next, is that okay for one more question?
Yes, please go ahead. It's fine. I have a BOE to go for. We are releasing our results today.
Okay, so okay. So yeah, okay. The last one is from Fatima Zahra.
Yep.
Okay, Fatima.
Thank you so much for actually, I want to ask more about your experience there. Like, is there any hardship or challenges when you face when you applying this conceptual play work to children?
Yeah, a lot. So it's not easy to run. It's not easy to do something of this nature. This demands a lot of work. So what I haven't shown to you is planning sheets. So for each session, so we ran this Rosie's Walk session over 6 weeks period, and our planning sheets runs into like 45 pages, which is to say that how do you do each of those things every day? There are times when children will not be interested. You will reach a point in the middle where they would say that they have lost interest in the story, right? That's the time when you have to start thinking innovatively and start introducing maybe new characters. Sometimes not do it for a while and then come back to it. You have to be very creative in terms of sustaining children's interest. I think that has been the hardest to achieve over time. If you are finishing in 2 weeks' time, that's still better and easier. But if you're trying to extend it and run it for a longer period of time, because if you are doing a difficult concept, you want them to come back to the same concept before they learn it completely, then it demands careful planning that sustains their interest over time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for your answer, and thank you, Fatima, for asking the question. I think we are a bit over time, so I think that was the last question. Is that okay, Dr. Ray?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay,
There's somebody who
so
raised her hand for the longest time I think I can quickly answer her question
oh, okay.
if she
Okay.
asks her question quickly.
Siti, okay, Siti Mutia, you can ask your question.
Okay, Miss. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, it's such an amazing opportunity to gain so much knowledge from you, Mr. Prabatrai. Along with the material you have presented, I have a question. My question is, how can my question is, in what ways can thoughtfully designed play spaces encourage children to transform abstract ideas into a concrete action? Thank you.
Yeah, so some of the examples which you saw where you found that they were basically taking some of the abstract ideas in their play. I think, one of the child who was playing that, push game where they were throwing the car into that spiral, they were basically trying to see those things in their own setting. So the point is, it's not forcing them on children. Rather, children themselves will start recognizing it in their everyday situations, maybe in their playgrounds, maybe in their other activities. So I am more of the idea that you have to engage with children in their everyday world so that you are able to see what they are learning. So I'm not thinking of, if they have learned very well something, they will surely show it to you. They are quite a show off, in that sense. They would like to show that they have learned something. So you have to basically follow them rather than thinking more than that. Yeah, but that's a good question. Thank you. Over to you, Delvina, then.
Okay, thank you, Mutia, and thank you so much, Dr. Ray. I think this is a very, very insightful presentation, and actually we're quite learning more about this model and actually implementing it at school, because as you know, we have a lot of cultural stories and traditional stories and games. Actually, we have lots of research about traditional games that maybe we could use in our if we were to implementing this model, we could also use our traditional games. We have lots of research in traditional games, so I think
Yes.
that would be very very interesting. Once again, thank you so much, Dr. Ray. And as we come to the end of this lecture, I would like to express my appreciation to once again Dr. Ray and the head of our department. Yes, yes. Yeah, Pak.
Maybe any comment from Mr. Anpro Parwoto?
Okay, is that okay, Dr. Ray? There's one comment from our lecturer here.
Yes, yes,
Just for
absolutely.
okay. Ya, silakan Pak. For Prof. Parwoto.
Yeah, Prof. Parwoto, any comment, Prof. Parwoto?
Thank you, thank you. I'm very happy to able to participate in this seminar. Dear Mr. Prabat, let me ask the problem collaborative play in the inclusive education system, where there are children with diverse needs, play for play too. What is the experience in Australia kindergarten institution have to facilitate collaborative play media in the inclusive education system.
Yeah.
Media for genius child and talented child and children with visual and hearing impairment child. Of course, have to need and can access collaboration for a normal child. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a big question, but I really appreciate you asking this because I think inclusive aspect of play is quite important and central. In a conceptual play world, though, just to give you a bit of an example quickly, there are a few things which I can talk about here, but not specifically on visually and hearing impaired children. That's something which we haven't done yet. But in the everyday play situation here in Australia, we do have inclusive space. So there are children who have diverse needs. There are children who have additional needs. I have my daughter, younger daughter, who has additional needs as well. All this is to say that in a conceptual play world, the opportunity, though, is that when the children are basically role playing, there is an opportunity for them, those who can be a peripheral participant. They can be part of the play, but not very active in the beginning. And that gives them a possibility of being part of the collective. What happens is otherwise, when you are working on this individual model of teaching, then children who are not able to do very well, then they are lagging behind. They don't feel being part of the collective. What the collective play basically offers is that it offers a possibility of doing things in the collective. For example, in Rosie's Walk conceptual play world, which I just talked about, there was a girl who was not very engaged. Surely she had some of the challenges in terms of the neurodivergent, but she was very interested. Every time we were doing this action of cluck, cluck, there was this role play of being a hen. And every time the educator said that let's try to be a hen and do cluck, 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 cluck. And she was very happy to be cluck, 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 cluck around because that was easy for her to do. And by doing that, she could be part of the collective. What I'm trying to say is the model offers a possibility for children to be included in that larger emotional space of teaching learning, and hence creates a possibility for them to be engaged in the problem scenario as well. If it would not have been that situation, then that child had a limited possibility of interaction and hence limited possibility of contributing and learning in that situation. I surely have I have to show a longer video to basically answer and explain each aspect of it, because you're asking a very important and a complex question, but it's something which is worth asking. So thank you very much for asking it and raising it. It's just that in short answer is conceptual play world does offer possibility of inclusive education, and it does it quite well, thinking from children's perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Brahma.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for Prof. Parwoto, who has been asking questions, and thank you for all the participants who have been asking questions and giving their opinions. Also, before we close this session, the committee would like to present a certificate of appreciation to our speaker, Mr. Prabhat Rai. Please accept this token of gratitude for your contribution, and we'll also send the certificate to your email later.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rai. And so that is all for our presentation today. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for our speaker as well. And for our participant, please, we are sending the link presency in the chat. So if you want to fill the form, please look at the chat. Kalau mau link presensinya, silakan periksa di chatnya. And as we've come to the end of this enlightening session, we want to thank once again Dr. Rai and all the participants for your enthusiasm, thoughtful questions, and active involvement. And on behalf of the Early Childhood Education Department, we truly appreciate your presence and participation. We have We hope today's session inspires you to bring more curiosity, creativity, and exploration in your future classroom. And with that, we officially conclude our program for today, and have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank you
everybody.
so much, Dr. Ray.
Thank you. It was nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Mr.
Bye. See you, everyone. Thank you. Sudah, Mas.